Ajinkya, how's it going? Welcome to the show. It's really great to have you on.
Hey Tom, it's going well. Yeah, no, excited to be here, and it's been a pleasure working with you guys over the past couple months.
Absolutely, man. Awesome. So let's dive in. Give us an idea of who you are, what you do, and what that looks like.
Sure, yeah. So by way of intro, name's Jinkya. I usually go by AJ with folks. One of the founders here at Trellus. We've been around for a little over 4 years now, which feels crazy, but that's what we are. We are in the sales tech space, so we specifically do a bunch of stuff around dialing. So we are an embedded power and peril dialer. So if you're familiar with like Nooks, Orum, or those class of tools, we essentially build similar products, but we do them inside your platforms. So that's sort of the big difference that we do. We're a lean team, so we've decided to not go the VC approach. We're doing just the cash flow, basis, and yeah, it's been a pretty exciting adventure.
Awesome, man. I mean, look, we've been using the product itself for a couple of months now, maybe a bit longer. I have to say, I absolutely love it. First of all, I think you guys have done a fantastic job of building a tool that is really designed for reps and with reps in mind. I think that's fantastic. I've used a bunch of tools previously, but I'd love to know a little bit more about the journey itself. You're in a space that is, there's big players out there. Nooks, Orum. There's in pipeline dialers and things like that. So sort of what led you to the point of thinking
Hmm.
we need to do this ourselves and give us an idea of what the starting
Yeah,
the journey looked like.
yeah, yeah. So I think there's a couple parts of it. So actually, starting the journey is like we had no intention of building a dialer or building in
Okay.
sales tech. Like me and my co-founder were engineers by training. We just knew that we wanted to start a company. That was the background of it. So it was start company first, come up with the idea later. And then we ran through the idea maze for I don't even know how long it was. It was a torturous 8 months. That's the way I would put it. And then at some point, someone on LinkedIn was like, "Cold calling is making a comeback," and we're like, I had never even gotten a cold call or like done a cold call in my life at this point, and so just total blinders on. Let's see what we can do. Charles actually started off as a real time AI coach for cold calls.
Okay.
Uh, it was a bit of a tar pit idea. I think it now works because like the new LLMs and everything make it work. But at the time, honestly, it was just a little too early. But it gave us users, so we were able to get like the first 100 people who were using Trellis. Honestly, not for the coaching, but for the free call transcripts that we gave them on the
Right.
calls.
Yeah.
And I think like basically the number one lesson I learned from that experience is even if you have the dumbest product in the world, if that product can get users to go use the product for whatever, like for some orthogonal value that you have no intention of like actually being the core use of your product, you should just go do that thing because you will probably find out what the actual like problem they're having is, and you have no way to know that unless you like give them, you kind of like are in their ecosystem. And so
Yeah.
that was probably the first year and a half was like, let's embed ourselves, let's get like a couple hundred users, like figure out what is going on. I think quickly you get a, if you're, it's not like you have agency, like you can go and like look at what other companies are doing, you can like literally watch people's like day to day, and so you get a sense of like how the market's evolving. I think we saw two big trends. Like one, there was a lot of specialized dialers coming out, right? The Nooks and the Orums of the world, which are like more of these like next gen dialers. And then a lot of the sales engagement platforms were not keeping up with them. So like
Hmm.
Outreach, SalesLoft, obviously HubSpot, like they just don't have these hundreds of features that you come to expect with new dialers that, when you go from like a Nooks to just dialing inside of Outreach, you're like, oh, I've gone to like like riding a horse from like a
Yeah.
Lamborghini or something like that. And so our suspicion was like there is two parts to this equation here. One is what if we can build all of those capabilities but bring it to your outreach because then you don't have to leave outreach. And then we can make the sales pitch to everyone that hey, you've spent like $250,000 on outreach and now you're gonna like spend $100,000 on your dialer to
Yeah.
leave outreach. That sounds like a great idea. Someone's gonna get fired over that because like that's an insane like proposition you just made to your boss. Like, let's spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in this tool that we're never gonna be in now all of a sudden. Like the sales motion. And so that was the impetus for it. I think like every business decision has trade-offs, right? Like we have a lot of platform risk, right? Like when you're a Nooks or Orem, you have your users inside of Nooks.ai or Orem.com. it is like a notoriously well-known thing. Like you cannot dial from Trellus.com. Like it's
Hmm.
not like you like literally are incapable of dialing from our website. You for being a dialer, which is pretty weird. Like you have to use other platforms,
Yeah.
and so we eat a lot of platform risk because of that, right? Like what if one day, HubSpot releases the best payroll dialer in the world? Like we're
Sure.
sort of not going to work on that platform anymore.
Yeah.
But like you eat that risk with also the gain of like all right, now we're the only one that works on HubSpot in like
Yeah.
this way. So yeah, I mean that's the background. I think I have a lot of thoughts on how this market's evolving now. I have like my big take is like you should never raise VC if you're building in dialers. Like I think it's a bad idea personally,
Okay.
and we can go into why. But yeah, I think the second one is if you don't raise a lot of VC, you are in control of your destiny. Like you don't have to do certain types of revenue milestones, right? Like when you raise the VC treadmill, like Orum has and Nooks sort of have, like you have to reach like a quarter mil, like probably a $250 million in revenue to like warrant being a good company in today's like funding environment.
Hmm.
And if you don't reach that number, like you're kind of kaput. Like your equity is underwater. Like you can't hire engineers, and you can't really transition to a cash flow company because private equity will buy you for like a 4x multiple, and like no one makes money. You're underwater. Maybe the founders make money on that, but like no one else does. And so if you do the flip side, if you don't raise venture and you only get to say like 40 million in ARR, everyone on your team is generationally wealthy, and you're not as susceptible to market downturns. Because like a 5% drawdown on 40 million of ARR is not that crazy, but like a 5% drawdown on like 250 million of ARR, like you're panicking, like the ships are sinking, like it's very hard to replace that revenue. And so like that's sort of like my thinking on the space, but I'm obviously biased because I've chosen a direction, but
Sure.
that is you should always choose directions in life and then stick to it kind of thing.
So,
Yeah.
so when you chose that direction, was it conscious with what you've just explained to me in mind, or was that something that you kind of learned through the process and realized, oh,
Yeah.
thank God I didn't go ahead and do that?
Yeah, I think you learn it through it. I think anyone who has done this intentionally is probably a second time founder.
Right.
And we're first time founders, so we like just didn't know anything to be honest. And we're victims of circumstance. That's the way I would put it, which is like our company on the early days was not a hot company to invest in, and so we didn't raise a lot of capital. So like if you do raise a lot of capital, like you have a $6 million seed round, this is not a real possibility for you anymore. You are on the treadmill. Like you can't just be like, all right, guys, hands up, we're going to become a cash flow company. Like that's not a real option anymore. And so like you need to sort of be in this weird like dynamic state of like raising enough capital that you can get off the ground because like starting a dialer bootstrapped is an insane move. Like you're not going to do it. Like you're going to eat so much. You're probably going to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars of personal like net worth, which
Okay.
I don't know about you, but I don't have that sort of cash sitting on
No.
me like to just go do that. And so like you do need some capital to start, but you don't need that
Yeah.
much capital to start. And so
Yeah.
like obviously in retrospect, I understand it now, but like we were victims of circumstances, the way I'd put it. And then the second part of the equation is like you actually have to go make money. Like the notorious truth in Silicon Valley is like most companies don't make any money. Like they have a lot of users, a lot of product, but like they don't make money. And it's
Hmm.
like crazy to me that people are like getting into business and not making money. Like I get I get it when you're like going for the moon, like you're building like a grand idea. Like you're building OpenAI or you're
Sure.
building like a next gen robotics company, like sure, revenue you're like really working on like something fundamental that could like change society. But if you're working on like B2B SaaS and you're like not making money
You've
and
got
you're
to be
not thinking about
profitable.
how to
Yeah.
and you're not thinking about how to make money, I'm like this is the dumbest thing you've like you're not changing the world with B2B SaaS. You're like crazy if you think you're doing
Sure.
that. And so I'm like I think people have lost the plot honestly when they
Yeah.
like raise like crazy amounts of dollars for like a B2B SaaS workflow product and I'm like you've literally lost the plot, dude.
I
Like
know.
the whole
And
point
it's
of this
just going
was
to be
like
automated away with Claude Code in about 2 weeks
yeah, I'm just like
anyway.
the whole point of this was like let's make money, let's make a lot of money, and like let's do it well. And like I don't know, I think people have gone crazy, and that's my worldview now.
So I think it's really interesting what you said regarding, that it wasn't necessarily a hot product when you guys first
Yeah,
first came out in terms of
yeah,
raising VC.
yeah.
Because you guys have been around for since 22, is it? Is that correct?
22. So we started in 22, but like we actually only entered the sales tech space like really 23 January.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's interesting you say that because that's like prime outbound automation time.
yeah,
When we've
yeah,
got mass cold email going out, mass cold LinkedIn going out, automated there. So, but now that's kind of table stakes in organizations. So it means like the efficacy of that is going
yeah,
down. So
yeah,
it's almost like flipping back where cold calling went from being seen as outdated,
yeah,
not cool, to
yeah,
now being sort of
Yeah.
necessary for an organization to grow, especially an organization that targets larger
Yeah.
organizations in itself in
Yeah.
their sales motion. So, I mean, is that something that you've noticed?
Yeah, I think everything is a cycle, right? Like I suspect cold calling at some point will also have its cycle of going down and then coming back up, right? Like that's my sort of 2 cents on it. I think when you're like a software infrastructure layer, like you have to you basically can't make a bet that like this thing is going to go away because if it goes away you make no money. You have to make a bet that like two things are true. So I think some people have a misunderstanding of how the application layer makes money. So I'll let you take email for example, right? Which is even though email efficacy is getting worse, right? It's way harder to make cold email work. Smart Lead and Instantly make a shit ton more money than they did a year ago, right? And like I don't think people like really internalize that fact that like as email efficacy got worse, those companies made more money. And the reason for that is like the way most people in the market diverge in their thought, right? Like you're either going to become like an artisanal go-to-market person, which is like you do very concentrated, like tailored cold email to like 10 people, but it's like perfect emails. Or you're like just a mass machine of like a gajillion emails. In theory, everyone wants to be part one because like, it feels good. It like feels like human. It feels like you're doing the right thing. But the thing people forget is for part one, you need like really good people to go and execute on that. Like you cannot do this at scale with like 100 SDR team because like, it's not to say people are bad at their jobs, but like most people are not like excellent at their jobs, to be honest. And like to find someone who will do that like 10 emails perfectly, just get them out to you, like you're gonna have to pay that guy so much money, and like it's not gonna work if you're hiring 100 of him. You can hire two of him, and sure, it will work for him. But like, and this is like sort of what I get back at with like the stuff that's coming out in like the cold calling space is a good corollary where there's a divergence in the market happening between like the Titan X's of the world who are like, all right, let's do like 50 really focused calls, and then not. It works really great if you have good reps.
Yes.
But like you cannot afford the ROI on that if you don't have good reps.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing people forget about this is like there's a human talent underneath. Like we can give you all the software in the world, and if I get you on like 100 calls, but you're a bad rep at calling, like you're gonna butcher. Like I can't make you book the meeting at the end of the day. Like I can't do that. And so the way software spend at the application layer will eventually go is like you don't care as like you do care about the efficacy of it, but you care about like what are the things I can control, like connect rates or like this and like that.
Yeah.
But the way you look at it is like the market will diverge in the following ways in cold calls as it did in emails, which is some folks are going to become artisanal and like they will reduce their spend, and some folks are just going to be like, all right, we're going to 4x the volume because the efficacy went down 50%. So like that's how we sort of calibrate ourselves, and they're going to spend 2x more because of that. And so like you actually end up growing the market in a weird way. And like I think LinkedIn discourse has totally lost the plot on like how actual software makes money here because like the AI SDR companies are crushing it. Like people don't realize that. Like they are actually making a ton of money secretly.
Yeah.
Everyone hates on them on LinkedIn, but they make a ton of money.
I hate on them all the time.
Dude, I think it's like silly. I think it doesn't work, but they make a shit ton of money. As a capitalist, you kind of have to like read the numbers at the end of the day, right? You should take two brains of this. One is like, all right, if I was running a go-to-market org, what am I going to do? But then also take the brains of like, why is this thing growing like 20% month on month, even though everyone on LinkedIn is saying it doesn't work? And like,
but do you think a company like that has, obviously they're selling a trend right now. It's really cool. It's like cool tech. It's swaggy. It looks nice. It's nice to demo, whatever. But do you think it's got longevity? Like, do you not think that their churn issues will catch up to them to the point where it'll become unviable?
Maybe to an extent, but like the way this is the argument I would make. You have to believe so we are betting on models these days. We're not betting on like workflows getting better. We're literally betting on like the next GPT model is just like 10x better. That's like an easy bet to probably make, to be honest. And so at some point you have to believe that their emails are indistinguishable. Honestly, they probably already are, but like they're indistinguishable from like a medium level rep writing these emails at scale. Now, obviously the flip side is everyone argues that like, hey, they're not doing like it just doesn't work because that scale doesn't work. But like, basically the only way those companies fail and you have to think about it as an aggregate. Don't take like individual companies because individual companies can fail because like the company is not run well. But like you take the space as an aggregate, like the spend on that space as an aggregate, and the way you would think about it is like, all right, is company X going to stop spending on emails because emails aren't working as well? or are they going to spend more money on emails? Just take that from like a totally rational, like emotionless perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I almost always make the bet that they're probably going to spend more money
Yeah.
as long as the company wants to grow, right? Like you have to think about the efficiency of a dollar in a org. If I can you have now actually unleashed more capital because like engineering is now cheaper technically because of
Mm-hmm.
Cloud Code. And so like where are your dollars going to be spent? They're going to be spent on marketing and sales. Marketing is just ads, and then sales is like human labor or like tools, to be honest. And so like I mean I care that it's a spam cannon to the extent. Like I'm thinking about like as a rational, like if I ran like 1,000 person org, but like
Sure.
all right, if it gives me an extra 2% on my bottom line, yeah, I don't like. All right, it's fine. It's not like perfect. It's like a less return on my investment, but it
Yeah.
is still it is. I'm putting $1 and I'm getting like maybe $1.40 out instead of $2
Yeah.
out. So like it's fine.
So you're kind of looking
Yep.
at the actual money, where the money is moving, and you're
Yep.
making a bet on where money is going to be spent, rather than what a lot of people like myself focus on LinkedIn, which is like the theory of outbound, if that makes sense, and where
Yep.
we think it should go. You're more
Yep.
looking at where the spend is, and you're saying that these organizations, they're not going to give up on email. They're just going to spend more to fix those solutions, whatever that solution is, whether it's an AI SDR, a cold
Yep.
email agency,
Yep.
whatever
Yep.
that solution is. They're just going to spend more to fix it.
Yeah, well, you can think about it, right? Like a organization, a sales organization has like 6 things they can spend dollars on. There's literally 6 things, almost. Maybe obviously more than 6 things, but like we can name the top 6 from a power law, which is, all right, you can spend on events, like in-person events. You can go and throw a bunch of like dinners. Super expensive. That is like a super expensive thing to go do. You can spend on people. Like you can just literally hire bodies of people. What are those people going to go do, right? Like they have to go do something at the end of the day. So like then you think about like channels. You have LinkedIn, you have email, you have phone calls. Um, that's realistically like what you have like in B2B. Like I guess you could like do door to door, but like who's selling SaaS door to door? Like that
Yeah.
makes no sense. And so like I guess like in person are one of those, right? So like the dollars have to be transferred. Like either the dollars stop going into sales, right? Like that's an option, which is like sure you stop spending on sales, but like what suicidal company is going to like go and stop spending on their sales? Any high growth company, any company that has growth potential is going to just drive like 50% of their cash through sales because
Yeah.
that's how they get their next round.
Yeah.
Like that cash has to exit the organization in some mechanism. And so like you can just think about the money flows and like the money flows go well people and tools and the tools only have 3 channels available. At the end of the day, you know, like it will flow.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's a really, really interesting point. And again, you're saying because of engineering costs going down due to all of this AI development, cursor, whatever it is, people being able to vibe code, that organizations will be able to spend more of that money that they've raised on sales, and it's just
Yeah,
going to
for sure.
become a like we're just going to throw money at this situation.
The distribute like the literal the name of the game, right, is like it's like the whole meme of like the thought guy is now in charge or whatever. Like he can like the ideas guy is in charge now because he can like literally like you can just envision it. Like you just have to like kind of squint and see like in 2 years, yeah, you don't really need that many engineers anymore. You need like maybe a couple, and then like you kind of build any product. And so what is gonna dominate and win in this world? It's distribution at the end of the day, right? And so like yeah, I mean, there's like some people who are gonna argue, okay, so like teams are not going to have salespeople anymore. They're going to do all PLG and all marketing. That's bonkers.
Yeah,
Or what organization is buying $100,000 ACV contract without like engaging with a human being? Like that is a bonkers concept. Like, sure, it'll work maybe for like the SMB and like sub 10K ACV like businesses will become no one have sales teams, but like even then, I don't know. Like maybe it actually becomes more efficient to use a sales team because like you can give them all these like gen tools like you know what I mean, like you can scale the person out like from a just the way other part I'll sort of make an argument for it is from an expense basis. When you think about running a company, human salaries are 10x the cost of any tool that you're going to pay for, right?
hmm
Like if I was expending on the most expensive cold email infrastructure like for a 10-person sales team, it's max going to probably cost me 5 to 6K of per month, like maybe a little bit more. Like if I really went high fancy with crazy volume, I'm going to spend like maybe like 7K, right? So that's going to go into like what, like something on the order of like $60,000-$70,000 a year or something. Like that's effectively one of my reps. And so like if I can pay for that and not need like 3 reps because that just runs my cold email infrastructure and like I don't really need to think about it, like the money, like even if that thing returns less on the dollar, I am saving money. Like
hmm
it just like it is literally economically efficient and rational for me to make that decision. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're a rep, then really what you need to be doing is making sure that you are pretty much better than any of these automated tools out there. If you're less good
Yeah.
than an AI SDR, you're
Yeah.
cooked in this market. You need to
Or
make
you're
sure that
someone who
you're
manages the
exponentially
tool.
better.
Or you're someone who manages the tool. Like I suspect
Okay,
like
yeah.
orgs will. I think the go-to-market engineer stuff is like to an extent correct with like the theory that like you're not the VP of sales on your company is not going to be like sitting at his desk like managing this like Claude code like
Yeah.
integration into like your email like there's
With
no
his VR
shot that is
headset
going on.
on.
Like there's
Yeah.
just no shot that's going on.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to get like someone in their 20s and 30s who's like, all right, dude, I'm going to like honestly vibe code this thing to make all this cool stuff happen. And I think that role will actually like exist and be honestly probably more well compensated than a regular SDR role because you don't need you need like two of those roles essentially to run like an at-scale system.
It's like an evolved RevOps.
To an extent, it's a RevOps guy who can do SDR work.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like it's like a RevOps guy who can call if he needs to. Like it's kind of a mixed hybrid position.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things you mentioned there as well was distribution. Distribution is the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
Going back to your GTM, how are you guys distributing right now? What does your distribution look like?
Yeah, so our distribution is honestly like two parts. One, the Chrome extensions are underrated. It makes it like easy to get into any org, honestly.
Okay.
Half of Trellus sales are like some random rep accidentally installed Trellus and then like
Nice.
was like then showed their buddies on the floor and then everyone installed it and then their security team was like, what the hell's going on? And then the RevOps got involved and like that's how we got known. So I think there's like underrated mechanisms around that. I think when you were thinking about distribution, you should basically think about the company you're building. If you are building like a true venture-backed company where you're going to raise a lot of capital, I think doing what we did is kind of stupid, and you should basically do it entirely sales-led. Like you should go and like punch down 500-person, 1,000-person orgs with like dinners, in-person events, and like really capture distribution through the top-down sale. If I was doing this like as a sales tech player with like lots of capital at disposal, if you don't have lots of capital at disposal, so you're going more bootstrapped or cash flow, you realistically need to have a PLG motion. Like there's no way you're going to be able to sustain like a true sales-led growth motion. And so like PLG. And so how do you like create, and then honestly, this is where like content becomes king. Like I think you guys do a great job of this, which is like,
Thank you.
Like you can broadcast yourself on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and like all these places, and like create lead magnets, and like. But I think the thing that people fail at on those is it's not like you can do that and then it works the next day. It's like you got to do that for like a year, honestly, and then it maybe works.
It takes a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and like so the issue with most founders are like they're not even confident they're going to stay in a space for a year, and so it's actually impossible to create content if like. A year from now, I don't know if I'm building a dialer, so it's like kind of bonkers for me to be like, for a year I'm going to post about dialer content, right? So like,
then you pivot or something, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, I think if you're a founder in this, like, you kind of like, I think people take optionality as a positive. I think optionality is like a negative, to be honest. If you're trying to succeed as a company, you should basically restrict yourself to like a set of principles on how your company is going to run, like your cash flow or your venture. Choose an option, like, and just stick to it. That's it. Like you are done. You've chosen your decision. Your life decision's been made. Like next one is like, what space are you going to work in? Cool. Life decision made. You're going to stick there for like 2 to 3 years. No, you're not allowed to leave. Right? Like your career is like 40, 50, like at least 40, 50 years. So it's fine. Like 2 to 3 years lost. Like you learned something. You committed to something. So like, I think basically if I was to give myself back advice, it'd be like, I think we did it well. Is like, all right, commit to like 3 principles about your company and just like, never change them, and then everything executes within that. Yeah.
Sure. Do you think that that's the same now though? With because I'm on Twitter and I see Claude shipping a new product every single day that like has a massive impact on a number of different industries. How do you do that today then? How do you say I'm going to do this for 3 years when you don't know in 3 years if it's going to be viable?
So this is why I have become a big anti-VC proponent, honestly, which is like you can control a lot of fate if you are, say, how would I put it? Like, if you don't need to get to 100 million in revenue or 250 million in revenue, it is easier. It is now easier than ever in history, in like literally the history of the world, to get to like millions of dollars in revenue. Like from like sitting at your couch at home, like you can do that, which is like, I think people don't appreciate like how crazy of a concept that is. That like if you went to your parents' age, like you gotta go like grind it out for like 60 years in some
Yeah.
workplace to even
You've
like
got to be
touch
born
that
in the
sort of
right
gap.
class or something as well.
Literally, it was like the world was classist at that point. Like you
Yeah.
actually, it was probably impossible unless you were born in the right blood,
Yeah.
or you like took drastic actions and then did get killed along the way or something
Yeah.
like that. So like,
Yeah.
like I think like people just underappreciate like what a bonkers world we live in, and like I don't know how
Right.
long this lasts, but like you should take advantage. And then I think the second part is so like that's why if you're like Claude Code is never going to kill your company if your company is only making like $5 million in revenue. Like, you're not gonna have like that crazy of a drawdown because you can also have personal relationships with all your customers at that level, and like
Hmm.
they're probably not gonna churn because of the service they get. So like your superpower is in service at that point. I think that would be my one suggestion. I think number two is like I think people get too attracted to flash in the pan, like let me grab cash really quickly events because they see it on Twitter and I see it on Twitter, and then you're like, holy shit, this dude just made like $10 million in like six weeks, and we're like, fuck, what are we doing with our lives?
Yeah.
But like
It's a shiny object, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, the realistic answer is like you should understand that some like always in life someone will win a lottery ticket, and like if you're betting your life on winning lottery tickets, that sounds like a pretty bad. Like it seems like yeah, maybe I mean if it works, good for you. But if it doesn't, like you're gonna be pretty depressed at the end of
Yeah.
that. So
Well, it's
like,
just the thrill of gambling, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That's why
dude, for
people
sure,
love
it's
going
like
to
another form of gambling. It's 100%
Yeah,
another
people
form of
love it. That's
gambling.
why people love sports betting and whatever, because it's the thrill of what
Yeah,
if, you know what I mean?
yeah, but I think like those are like right. Those are like individual events. This is like gambling your work career and like your legitimate time. You're just like gambling time. And I kind of get it. I feel like our generation has sort of been put in a weird way where like the what I call the social contract of jobs has basically gone away. Where like it is actually no longer obvious to me that if I worked hard at a company, they wouldn't fire me.
But
If
yeah,
that makes
yeah.
sense, right? Like I think my parents' generation, it was actually crazy. Like someone getting fired and working hard was actually a foreign concept. Like that was never, unless the company was in truly dire straits. Like they would not, like you don't fire hardworking employees. Like that's not a real thing. That doesn't feel like that's true anymore. And
No,
so I think that's like basically because of that. I think the generation has to make gambles because unless you build a business or like you were born in the right spot, you kind of can only take like crazy bets and like try to make your way out of it. And so like I don't fault people for doing it. I get why they're doing
course.
it, but like
Yeah.
it's not like you can't start a business. Like it's an option available to you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, it's just a lot of exciting stuff going on, and
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
seeing those shiny objects and,
Yeah.
and thinking, "Oh my God, if they can do it, why can't?"
Yeah.
Why
I mean,
can't
it's
I?
like
You
literally
know?
like our modern day. I think the hysteria is also worse for us because like the way you can think about it is like the California gold rush in like the
I was just gonna
1840s
say,
or
yeah,
something, right? Like that one was also more localized. Like yeah, you kind of heard about it in the newspaper, and then like, but like even then, think about like the bonker, like the kahunas people had then, right? Like people from China read that in like some Chinese local newspaper, and then like we're like, all right, I'm gonna ship across the Pacific to this like foreign land to go pan for gold. Like I don't think I could ever put myself in a mental state that like that's a concept of a
I
thing I
know.
would go do. Like those are true kahunas, and like we are now in a world where like everyone has access to the gold rush all of a sudden. But it's like you're doing it on planetary scale of like 8 billion, like billions of people, and like there's a mass hysteria town square going on with it, and so I think the worst part is you don't have to move. So like with the California Gold Rush, at least you only got people who had like true kahunas and were like crazy
Yeah.
people.
They were like
Now it's
strong
like
guys. They have to get out there. Yeah,
yeah, now it's like every person in there like people who should never have been part of this hysteria are in the hysteria, and so it's
yeah.
like just truly awful mechanics of everything that's going on, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah. So I mean, going back to distribution. So we've got content
Yeah.
as one
Yeah.
thing. What else are you guys doing? How are you guys going to market right now? How are you guys
Yeah, yeah,
acquiring
yeah,
customers?
yeah. So I think three parts. One is there is a structural thing in sales that allows you to get distribution more easily if you stick around in sales. And the reason for that is sales is probably the one profession where like people have very short tenures at companies. And that's not looked down upon, right? Like so like a SDR moving between company to company with like 1 year tenures is actually like that dude could be a killer. Like he could be the
Yeah.
best SDR on the planet or the worst SDR on the planet. You actually don't know because it's totally unclear. There's no like 10-year duration risk, and so people just move around like a crazy amount. And so like honestly in sales tech, if you stick around and you get enough distribution starting off, like you secretly just gain distribution over time if you if people like your product because they just bring it to other companies. Like you
So
don't even have
time
to
in the
do
game.
literally time in the game. You literally don't have to do anything because they like just bring it over for you. So that's like number one, which is like you know distribution only works on timescales. Like you can't really manufacture that. Two, like obviously content. Three, I think is like you should actually invest in like SEO and stuff a little bit. Like people don't do it, but like people are like there's a new class of like ChatGPT stuff, right? Also, as a young startup, you can kind of do silly things. Like if you looked at our blog, I would be embarrassed by what is written on our blog, but it really works on ChatGPT. Like if
Yeah.
you look up, like I think like at some point, if you looked up best dialer on HubSpot on ChatGPT, like Trellus was like the answer. We're like a small company. There's like 100 dialers on HubSpot, and so like, you know what I mean? Like the reason for that though is we had really trashy blog articles that like ChatGPT liked to read, and those like Salesforce would never have approved those blog articles on their website, kind of thing. And so you are allowed to put like you're also allowed to like seed Reddit. You're allowed to like seed Quora, Answers.com. Like, do you really like things that like a real company would never do because it looks bad on the company? But like if you're a startup, you're totally allowed to go
So
do
you've got
that.
that
And
sort
like
of like small scrappy mentality, like you don't care getting your daggers out.
just like
And,
like
yeah.
looks fine. I get banned on Reddit. Like there's a Reddit comment where like someone's like, "Hey, you're obviously from Trellis." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I am." Like whatever. I'm like faking not being from Trellis, but I'm posting
Yeah.
about Trellis's dialer. Like it's just like no one actually cares about these things. Everyone understands like it's for the love of the game kind of thing, and like I think that is actually a very reasonable. Like you should go and just employ those strategies because you are allowed to, right? Like if you are a young company, you should look at like what is a big company not allowed to do, and then go do those things.
Just slightly
Usually,
grey hat, not black hat, but kind of grey
yeah,
hat. Grey
yeah.
hat
Obviously, don't like
tactic.
go and like hack people or something.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that. Like don't
yeah,
do straight up, don't do illegal things, but like
yeah.
you know, questionable things are fine.
Hmm.
And the reason they're questionable is because like for example, it would be weird if like Nooks or Orum were like posting on Reddit as like fake reviews when it's not obviously them, and like is there like real companies with like probably like a department that has like PR and like marketing? We do not have that, and so like, and the funny part is like people will read those Reddit comments, they obviously know it's us, but then they learn about our dialer, so it's not
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
it's like whatever, like it's not like anyone, no real buyer is actually being fooled by this. It's just like
Yeah.
you're heading SEO,
And I
and
guess
so
all PR is good PR if the product behind it is good. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you
if the
had a
product
crap
works, like
product,
yeah, you're fine.
yeah,
Yeah, if you have a crap product, nothing's gonna help you. Like that's
yeah.
the end of the day.
But
And
you've
then
got
yeah,
a great product and you're doing that, and even if it gets controversy and people go, "Who the hell is this?" and then they go, "Oh, it's actually a really good product." Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
And then the second part is if you like yeah, I think you actually just sort of touched on it. If you have to have a good product, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
if the product doesn't work and does what you want, like you basically can't have like too many detractors. You will always gain detractors on your product. Like that's not like it is impossible to not gain detractors. But like you never want to leave people with a bad taste. Like it's like you just like build a good product. Things probably work themselves out.
Yeah.
And then I think the final part is I don't really know. I would say it's kind of hard. It's like you just have to put in the hours, right? Like I think people don't put in the hours on this, which are every day post on LinkedIn, like every day do this, every day go comment, every day go like, right? Like you have to do these things day in and day out. And people I think are a little manic when they do growth, if that makes sense. Like they like will have short spurts of like, all right, I'm gonna grow this company like 5%, and then like for a week they go crazy, and then for the next 6 months they don't do anything. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what you expect was gonna happen? Like that's
Yeah.
not how like things work. And so I think you have to like actually have routine and do
Yeah, so having a fixed routine there. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things that I've noticed isn't part of it that you haven't mentioned is much cold outreach. So you guys going cold to the market as well?
So we basically I think like we have had a weird story where so when we first started like going through like when we started the product it wasn't that good, and so we tried cold outreach then. Cold outreach doesn't work well for bad products. That's basically my number one lesson. When we brought Suji on, Suji runs our go to market. She was doing cold outreach for us. It was working great. And then we sort of have, I guess, the issue of like we're actually just a small team. Like it's me and Suji who do sales, to be honest. And so like our calendars got full, and so there's like literally only so much time in the day
that you can
like,
actually go and do it.
you can go do these things. And so
Yeah.
now we're like thinking about how can we scale ourselves out, like run it through some other like structured machine, like like that's like now coming into play. Mostly because we've like I mean, it's weird, but like obviously as a cold calling tool, you would think like cold calling is your number one source of
Yeah,
channel,
yeah,
but
yeah,
like
sure.
we just like it works for us when we've done it. Just we literally don't have the time for it, so we'll do parts of it just for dog fooding the tool because you need to. But like we're mostly honestly inbound driven at this point,
Okay.
which is like a good like it's good to have as like
Yeah,
a situation.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, like you that's like your dream situation. But like I think now that I'm thinking about the company, I'm probably like the next year I'm really thinking about like how do I create an outbound channel that like consistently delivers because you don't want to rest on your laurels of like inbound because if it dries up like you're in total panic state.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it's fun to have while you have it, but like you said, if it goes
yeah.
tits up, then
You're gonna be depressed.
you
You're
don't
gonna
want to
show
be
depression.
scrambling. That's
You're
what
gonna
I'm
have a
saying.
bad
Yeah.
day. You're gonna have a bad day. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
absolutely. So do you think that'll include bringing on SDRs to run calling for you? Maybe one or two
Yeah,
dedicated
I've
SDRs.
just like not really. I think my challenge is like I think it is easy to think about hiring as a way out, and like the financial constraint I like to put on the company is like, how can I go spend on like a tool to
Hmm.
actually make things happen?
Hmm.
So like I'll give you an example, right? Like when I think about growth, I'm like the reason is like humans are like a fixed cost that you can't like calibrate up and down, and also when you're like a small company like ours, like if you hire someone, you're kind of making like a like I have no interest in firing people, and so like I just know like most venture backed companies they'll like fire like 10% of employees. Trellus has never fired anyone to its date, which is probably a bad tell on me, but like I'm like interested in working with people I like and like want to work with them for a long time, and like I have no interest in like bringing someone on they're not successful because I didn't like have enough capacity or success to do it, and
Sure.
like it just sounds awful at like our stage. And so
But sort of figuring that out first, then being able to bring someone
yeah,
that you can put effort
it needs to
into.
be so. I'm almost like it needs to be so painful that like I'm just so underwater on the work, and I can't like find a tool to spend my way out of. That like I need a human being for it. Then I'll do it, and I'll find like the right person. And otherwise, that's like how can I? Because also if you just do it via the tech, you can bet that tech gets cheaper. To be honest, and then you can maintain costs. You have a more efficient, profitable business, and the lower headcount you can keep, the more amount of money you can pay your employees. To be honest, and so like everyone can stay happier. Like it's like a cool dynamic you can create. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, 100% agree. I think you're completely right. So sort of wrap this up. I'd love to know, do you have any hot takes, any controversial opinions on
yeah, yeah,
outbound go-to-market specifically? Like, what's your
yeah.
hot take right now?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is great for understanding how to sell an SMB. I think it is actually extremely useless to understand how like a company like IBM or where like the big spenders in go to market actually how they do sales because no one from them is posting. So like the echo chamber that you are looking at on LinkedIn is basically startups that don't have true product market fit that are trying to do sales, um, that have never done sales, have no structured teams, and have small sales teams. It is like the entire content sphere there is geared towards them, and the dark truth is they don't spend that much money. They don't have that much capital to spend.
Okay.
And so if you're actually trying to make a big like a company that does material revenue, you should like take it with some level of a grain of salt because when you go to a real big economic buyer, they probably don't actually care that much about like the 1% delta in their connect rate. They care about like all these other controls and like security controls and analytics controls and
Compliance
like
and legal and
compliance.
everything.
And
Yeah.
like you're going to be totally wish-washed in that deal against your competitor because
I
they thought about these things. And so
yeah.
you should understand that like obviously you should focus on those parts. Like I think the path to building a great product is through SMB, if that makes sense. Like build a great product for SMB and then scale
Yeah.
it to enterprise.
Yeah.
But you are totally missing the plot if you think that's how you're going to make money. Like it is
Okay.
extremely hard to make a big business on the backs of like two-person SDR teams. Like you are going to have a terrible time, like a terrible bad time. It's going to be such a bad time. And I think, I mean, you can basically see this trend. All sales tech companies have basically min seat counts that have scaled.
Right.
And they all have annual min seats. Like just read the like tea leaves of why have they done. Like people are not idiots. Like these people make economically rational moves, and they've made an economically rational move for a reason, which is like that's how you make money here, and like that's sort of how to grok all of it. Yeah.
Got it. Love it, man. Well, look, Ajinkya, I mean, this has been great. Thank you so much for jumping on. Really, really appreciate your time. And where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm active on LinkedIn. You can also find me at ajinkya@trellis.ai. But yeah, just feel free to DM me there, and I'll generally respond pretty quickly.
Love it. Thank you, man.
Sounds good. Awesome.
Mate, that was great.